Hello, so we're going to keep this episode quite short on Monday for all of you, but if you're watching on Patreon, you've already seen this, so hi to all of you. Now, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is one of the benchmarks of British science fiction. It has a long history that seems to, well, in recent years, it's kind of gone downhill. We've had uneven and inconsistent Doctor Who storytelling since Capaldi, really. And although I did like his last season, Jodie was a failure of a doctor, but her first season was very good, and she was let down by poor writing and poor character decisions made by a lot of people, probably including herself. So who knows with that one. This current run of Doctor Who, they've already attacked fans and said if you don't like it, go away. They're already saying if you don't like the villain, go away. And all of this stuff, I watched those first two episodes, and I'm going to break down what I thought overall about them. And we're going to start at the beginning. Lackluster writing. One of the glaring issues with these episodes was the writing. We're presented with disjointed narratives, predictable twists, and dialogue that feels forced and somewhat unnatural. These episodes lack depth and complexity. And don't get me wrong, there's some great Monster of the Week, one-off, fun, weird, shallow Doctor Who episodes over the years. But this Space Babies especially drove me insane because I felt like I'd seen it before. And then you had The Devil's Called, which I thought was great fun, and I enjoyed the Beatles and things, and I'm not a Beatles fan, but it was a nice nod to Doctor Who history. If you know, you know. But they both felt kind of uninspiring and lazy in many parts. Underwhelming. That's a good word. There were lots of good ideas, but they were completely underwhelming episodes overall. And I want to be proven wrong. Maybe it'll get better, because I've noticed this. Doctor Who episodes that are great out the gate tend to be weaker Doctors at the end, and Doctor Who's with weaker starts tend to be better Doctors at the end. This guy could prove us all wrong, but who knows at this point, right? I want to be proven wrong. The weak character development. We've already had Ruby introduced in this new Doctor and the bi-regeneration. I'm taking all the canon issues out of the equation. But it feels like these were more cardboard cutouts. They felt superfluous to the plot, and I think they felt difficult to connect with because they felt one-dimensional. A lot of people online are saying kind of indifferent to the fates of the characters because they're not particularly strong. And I think Ruby actually has potential, more potential than the Doctor, but who knows with that one. I think the fact that this was such a superfluous 2-episode start that didn't really do much, it just kind of sat there and did its thing and didn't do anything particularly new. And like I said, I've seen this kind of Doctor Who episode before, and it felt kind of lazy. Incoherent storytelling and storylines. It seems to have lost the ability to keep you on the edge of the seat. A somewhat lazy plot, it left more questions than answers. The pacing drove me insane. These 2 episodes dragged on to the point that it was painful. There was a lot you could have cut from those episodes, and there was a lot of stuff that just rushed through to important points. It was uneven and frustrating. Again, that happens. It's Doctor Who. You're going to get things up and down, but straight out the gate, these were weaker than the Christmas and New Year's specials. The pacing just drove me insane. And I feel like Russell T Davies is trying to make things far more Stranger Things than Doctor Who, if you want the honest truth. The lack of creativity screams at me in these 2 episodes. It feels devoid of creativity. It relies on tired tropes and recycling ideas rather than creating new trends. The sense of wonder and excitement that once defined the series seems to be absent in these. If anything, the fact that these episodes felt so derivative of previous Doctor Who episodes, and when Russell T Davies come in, he really did some new stuff, and I enjoyed the new stuff. But these felt, I've been here, I've done this. Any Doctor and any assistant could do these episodes. It didn't define anything. Look at the first few episodes with Tennant. Look at the stuff with Eccles. Look at the stuff even with Matt Smith. There was something new. There was something strong, and they did push a few new ideas out the gates. Despite Capaldi's last season being more Cybermen stories, I will say that I think that was his best season. His first one or so were not great, but they were still engaging, and they were trying new things. They found what worked. Hopefully, this will pick up the pace, and we'll get something inventive. I cannot speak this morning. I apologise. Something spectacular rather than what it is. And I also think it failed to engage with its themes. It somewhat shallow and forgettable first two episodes. The lack of depth and substance in the story feels like a missed opportunity. They could have put a few seeds for what was coming. They could have planted something. They could have taken these in a slightly different direction. I like my Doctor Who darker. I do. I always have done. And I feel like this could, again, wasted opportunity more than anything in how they told the stories. A generic opening episode, Space Babies and the Devil Called, felt like I've been there before, despite the Beatles thing being quite fun. What frustrated me thus far, it failed to live up to the high standards of many predecessors. Lackluster writing and weak character development, weak storylines, and the lack of creativity. I don't think it engaged with the themes at all. And I feel like this has just lost its magic. I can hope that the next episodes get better, but it's hard not to feel somewhat disillusioned with this and Doctor Who's adventures are heading, going by the leaks online and other information. I've been a Doctor Who fan since the 90s. My first Doctor Who was the movie. Yes, the TV pilot that never became a thing. And I really enjoyed that. And I still have a soft spot despite the problems. And I remember watching episodes of that repeated on BBC Two and on the weekends. Doctor Who and Star Trek. Or filling in when TV shows they didn't have a new episode of Buffy or something. Watching the kind of destruction of Doctor Who is fascinating, but also watching these studios and people behind it play the same cards over and over and over again. Well, it failed because of the fans. They're doing it with Star Trek Discovery right now, that, they listen to fans, therefore it failed. Really? Have you not watched that god-awful mess? Doctor Who, as a show, should be a benchmark, and these first two episodes didn't really do anything particularly new and particularly eye-catching. They felt like a safe bet. Easy to consume, easy Doctor Who to write, and the fact that Stephen Moffat is going to be in for episode 3 is even more concerning, because I thought we could get rid of his writing once and for all. I hailed the return of Russell T Davies, but his actions and behaviour and what's coming out of the actors' mouths leaves a lot to be desired. People need to learn to be grateful. And if rumours are true, who knows what's going to happen in the future. I heard they're going to repeat the Bad Wolf thing with the character of Ruby. I hope they don't. But that's a whole different discussion. And I love Bad Wolf, by the way. As a Doctor Who fan, it's just sad. And I feel like the magic has been lost. I want this series to get better. I want engaging, strong plots. But instead, we're getting generic, somewhat dull, and somewhat derivative content from someone who was once very good.